In the morning, you got me up, all cause you need to talk. To 4 in the evening, wanna break up, say that you've had enough. I'm tired of talking, again and again, argue about everything. You are my darling, this kiss and make up, I know you wanna touch. You call me every night, call me every day, I just wanna get you alone now. Trust me when I say, we gon' be okay, we just gotta boom, bada boom, ba. I don't wanna fight, you know that I'm right. Baby, let me talk to your body. We gon' be okay, hear me when I say.
No, I don't hate Balboa, but I pity the fool. And I will destroy any man who tries to take what I got.
What's your prediction for the fight, then?
Prediction?
Yes, prediction.
Pain.
In my palm, my girl, she know she the one. I put the ice on her hand, I put some ice on her arm. See me shining in the light, know you found me in the dark. Talking how you wanna leave, girl, you made this far. Taking trips overseas, no, I won't be long. We came up from the weeds, now it's top floor. All these big gets on her wrist, VVS is on her neck. Make it spinning, I don't stress. When I make it stretch. Double back to back then. Down broke, now we rich. Spend it on a let it spin. Down with me to the end. That my best friend. That my best friend. That my best friend. I'ma spend it on her, cause she all mine. That's me. Spend it on a challenge, cause she all mine. There for my first cake, then we hit 100K. $500,000 on the way, then $1 million on the way. Eating good, full plates, eating good, say grace. Eat her up, get thanks. She got cake birthday. I can't waste no way, I can't waste no play. My girl, whoa, whoa, something like the baddest chick. My girl, whoa, whoa, came from the rags to rich. Hit the road running, I had to tell her I had to get it. She understood, but she spoiled, so when she get mad, she did. She do. All these big gets on her wrist, VVS is on her neck. Make it spinning, I don't stress. When I make it stretch. Double back to back then. Down broke, now we rich. Spend it on a let it spin. Down with me to the end. That my best friend. That my best friend. That my best friend. I'ma spend it on her, cause she all mine. That's me. Spend it on a challenge, cause she all mine. All these big gets on her wrist, VVS is on her neck. Make it spinning, I don't stress. When I make it stretch. Double back to back then. Down broke, now we rich. Spend it on a let it spin. Down with me to the end. That my best friend. That my best friend. That my best friend. I'ma spend it on her, cause she all mine. All these big gets on her wrist, VVS is on her neck. Make it spinning, I don't stress. Spend it on a challenge, cause she all mine. That my best friend. That my best friend. That my best friend.
guys, we're going to have a good show on tonight. Starting a little late, and I apologize, but we're going to talk about something that is extremely important as it relates to masculinity in men. And we're going to be talking about something called testosterone. Testosterone is the thing that helps a man feel like a man. But if a man is dealing with low T, many times he might have all kinds of issues, and sometimes it can look like depression. So we're going to have a good show tonight, guys. I know it's a little late. Won't be with you long, but I appreciate you to the forward to the end. And we're going to talk about the power of men having testosterone and what they need to do to get their levels up so they can be a reflection of the man that they were in the past. So guys, get your pens and paper ready. I'm about to drop some fire for your mind. No doubt, about to do it, guys. About to do it. Let's go. Let's do it. Hold tight. Let's do it. Hold tight. Hold tight, guys. Let me see if I don't think it's got this thing logged in. Hold on, guys. Let's do it. Let me turn this thing on real quick. Hold tight, guys. Let me see if I don't think it's got this thing logged in. Hold on, guys. Let me turn this thing on real quick. Hold tight, guys. All right, here we go. Bringing it to you live once again from the greatest state in the Union, the Tar Heel State, where the topography is serene, pristine, and verdant green, where every day is Father's Day, and where manhood is part of hills and valleys, victories and failures, and whereas men, we don't agree on all things or ideologies, but tonight we come together as allies of a common cause, only to dissipate once the crisis is over. Now listen, I'm about to drop some fire for your mind. But before I drop that fire, let's explore why we are doing the Manhood Chronicles. All right, guys. Once again, thank you guys for tuning in on tonight. I really appreciate it. And we're going to have a good show. This might not be with you guys long, but this is a show that's very important as it relates to the mental mind state of men. And a lot of times, guys, when men testosterone levels are low, they're only a shadow of themselves. And so the show's going to be a good one because we got to get these testosterone levels up if you're going to be a reflection of who you were in the past. And you know, the thing about having low T, guys, is that many times you don't even know you have low T. Sometimes when you are angry and frustrated and you're irritable and you feel depressed, a lot of times that's a byproduct of having low testosterone. And low testosterone, guys, many times can reduce how you see yourself, but also it can take away your vigor as a man. Testosterone is that hormone that makes you feel like a man. But when your testosterone levels are low, then you're not feeling the way you did in your 20s. And it can happen for a myriad of reasons. We're going to talk about it. I'm going to have my special guest on tonight, Gene Davis. We're going to chop it up a little bit. And we're going to talk about ways to boost your testosterone levels. And listen, guys, I know these kind of shows don't get a lot of views. And, folks get bored to death when they hear shows like this. And I get it. But every now and then, I'm going to always do shows that are more or less related to prevention because prevention is better than an ounce of cure. And then you guys remember Mr. T back in the past. Mr. T was the epitome of testosterone. That's why I use him, because Mr. T was a masculine man. And so we're going to talk about, testosterone levels, guys. We got to talk about it because some of you guys got low T. You don't even know it. You're irritable. You're gaining weight. You're getting that visceral fat around your stomach. And I can I'm staying to lose a few pounds. I'm overweight, overweight. And so we want to get those testosterone levels optimal so you can feel like a man again, because if your T levels are low, you're feeling foggy. Your mind is not clear. And you're not feeling like how you should feel because your testosterone levels are low. So we got to ask ourselves the question, why is testosterone vital? And I'm going to tell you why it's vital. Because testosterone is what helps you feel like a man. it gives you that energy to push forward and to accomplish your goals and your mission. That's why years ago, our ancestors, our fathers and our grandfathers, they based on studies, they said men had higher testosterone levels back in the past compared to now. And some will argue that men T levels are low now for a myriad of reasons. Part of it could be environmental toxins. Some of it could be stress. And also some of it could be the diet that you're eating. If you're eating too much processed food, it could lower your testosterone level. And so you can't feel like a man if you got low T levels. Now, many times, guys, you'll go to your doctor and your doctor will say, well, if you got over 300, then your T levels is normal. Well, that's a misnomer. You can have over 300 for testosterone levels, but 300 for a man that's in his 40s or 50s, that's not good. That's actually bad. A man in his 40s and his 30s or 40s should have T levels, I would say around 5. I would say good normal, high normal around about 480 to 5. Around 600 would probably be optimal. 600 to 700 would be optimal. But anything less than that is a sign that you got low testosterone. Low testosterone is a sign that you got issues, guys, and it can lead to, how can I say it? It can lead to muscle mass being decreased, and you don't have that vigor to be as progressive. But another thing that can lead to low T, we're going to talk about it once again, can be bad relationships. And we're going to get deeper into it in a minute. But in the meantime, guys, get the likes up. And we're going to talk about low testosterone because they call it hypergonadism. Low testosterone is called hypogonadism. And so gonad basically means your testicles. And when it's low, then you don't have that fire or that je ne sais quoi to feel like you can conquer something. But men, if you want to get your T levels up naturally, instead of getting hormone replacement therapy, testosterone replacement therapy, one way you can do is by lifting weights. 2, by getting your rest. Getting your rest is very important. 3, modifying your diet, taking walks, getting vitamin D. There's myriad ways to get your testosterone levels up. And we're going to talk about it. But, if you want to feel like a man in the bedroom, you can't feel like a man in the bedroom with low T. And so, like I said, my man Gene Davis, he's gonna pop on in a minute. He is Gene is actually a fitness coach, and we're gonna talk about it in a minute as we get this show started. And I got some more things I want to share with you guys as well. But what role does testosterone play on your mind? And as I said earlier, as a therapist, we look at things through what's called the bio, psycho, social, spiritual lens. Bio, which is the body, psycho, which is the mind, social is the environment, and spiritual is that supersedes all of that. And so if your testosterone levels are low, it can impact your body, but also it can have or more or less look like mentally ill symptoms. You can look like you have clinical depression if your T levels are low. And a lot of times for people like myself that are darker skinned, you need sunlight. That's why when you go to places like Brazil, you travel abroad, you feel alive again. You feel alive because you're getting that sunlight and you're getting that vitamin D. Hold tight, guys. We'll try to get my man Gino. Hold tight. But all of this, guys, is important as you continue to grow and as you strive to grow because if you're not getting that T levels or you're not getting healthy or optimized testosterone levels, then you can't lay that wood in the bedroom with your woman. And so if you're a married man, you want to be able to lay that wood right, and you can't lay it right if your T levels are low. And that's why I want you guys to go and get your testosterone levels tested because low T could be for a myriad of reasons. Hold tight. Trying to get this thing again, guys. Give me a minute. But yeah, so I want to ask you guys a question. How many of you guys are dealing with frustration, dealing with depression symptoms, feeling tired or irritable? If you're feeling all that, hit 1. Give me 1 minute, 1 minute.
They know, 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 they know. Tunnel vision when I hit the holly. Working on that cause my mind is on an island. Told my babies I'll be homeless, so don't stay up. Breaks my heart to see them sad, so I won't wait up. Need it all that's mine, I need it now. I lost my patience the same week I lost my smile. My baby pressed me, said I'm acting like a child. I took some L's, can lie, that really brought me down. I'm so antisocial, but I guess it's type selective. Swear I'll make a change, but for now I just can't help it. Only trust in God.
To get my man Gene, and I apologize. But once again, low T can impact how you feel. It can impact your mind. It can impact your spirit. It can impact a myriad of things. And when your testosterone is low, then you don't feel like the man that you need to feel like. And so we're going to talk about it, guys. But in the meantime, get the likes up. And my man Gene will pop on in a minute. But what role does testosterone play on your mind? And once again, it can cause masking symptoms. It can look like depression. It can look like a myriad of different things when you're not getting the proper stimulation. That's why people that live in sunnier climates tend to have higher testosterone levels. And also, guys, not getting your rest. These cell phones emit something called blue light. And that blue light, many times, guys, when you're not getting your sleep at night, it's throwing off what's called your circadian rhythm. Your circadian rhythm is something that helps you go to sleep. The circadian rhythm helps you rest, and it helps you sleep. But you can't get your sleep, guys, if you're up all night. And so optimal testosterone levels is when you get your rest, when you're going to bed, when you're waking up at a certain time, and it's what helps you feel like a man. Shout out to my man, Gene Davis. Gene Davis, how you doing, brother? What's going on?
What's up, man? Good to see you, brother.
No doubt. Yeah, me and Gene, I was up in New York with Gene a while ago. And Gene, we're going to talk about low T, man. You know, that's something that a lot of men are struggling with.
Okay.
And, I consider that.
Hold up.
Yeah. I consider you a fitness expert. And I want you to tell the guys why testosterone levels are so important for mental health, but also for mental stimulation. Based on your knowledge of being a fitness coach.
Testosterone levels are important for a lot of health reasons, man. People with low T have higher incidence of heart attacks. They're lethargic. Give me 1 second. We'll turn on the light again.
Yeah, go ahead.
Here we go. Okay, people, they have higher incidence of heart attacks, lethargic, inability to focus, a lot of stuff, like just your, and this is outside of, sex drive, energy. When you have low T, you just don't feel like yourself. Like you can't function the way a man needs to function when your testosterone is low.
Right. And so we're going to talk about some practical things, Gene, that we can use that can help men build their testosterone levels. One is vitamin D in the sun. Why is the sun so important for men and testosterone based on your knowledge?
Well, the sun is, vitamin D is super important because, there's no such thing as there's no such thing as a disease that's not connected to vitamin D deficiency. Mm-hmm. Every major disease is connected to vitamin D deficiency. So we need to, and from what I understand, it's best to be in the sun like around midday. Mm-hmm. Expose yourself to like at least 20 to 30 minutes of sunlight. And vitamin D, it boosts not just your testosterone, but your immune system. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So like if you want to stave off all types of diseases, vitamin D really helps.
Right.
And getting it from the sun you can't get it from a better source.
Right. Yeah, right. It's better to get it from the sun, but if you're in a home house all the time, it's okay to take supplements, especially for darker skinned people.
Yeah, I take D3.
D3. Okay.
I take it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Gene, deadlift. We're gonna get into deadlifting in a minute, and then we're gonna run through some clips from this guy. talking about testosterone. It's going to be very comprehensive. And, you know, Gene, these kind of shows don't, you know, get a lot of views, man, because, you know, it's not popular, you know, but you know, it's not salacious. It's about health. And sadly, the things that we need to focus on many times, we don't focus on it because it's not salacious. But every now and then, man, I go into my archives, man, and try to pull out things that are synonymous to helping men get better health. And when men get better health, then they can have a better mind. When they get a better mind, they can have a better spirit. When they get a better spirit, they can have a better soul. And so when men have low T, many times it reduces their ability to feel like a man. You look good for your age, and you know, many probably won't believe your age, but you're close to 60 years old. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I'm 58.
You're 58. So you guys see Gene. Gene is 58, and you do a myriad of different things from pyrometrics, I believe, to planks. You do a lot of different things to keep your body strong.
Oh man, my toolbox is deep, bro.
Mm-hmm. Talk about that. Talk about some of the tools that you use to keep your body intact.
I use a lot of ancient tools that were originally created for war. I use like warrior instruments, you know, maces, clubs. Those things were originated as instruments of war in this, you know, you're going back 2,500, 3,000 years ago in India and Persia. And people don't realize, like, the modern day Iranians, those are the Persians. The Persians were at war for over 1,000 years.
Right.
If somebody, and this was before, you know, you could have like war from a distance, like it was hand-to-hand combat. So if somebody knows something about, you know, kicking some butt up close and personal, it would be the Persians.
The Persians, right.
And they use, you know, maces and clubs, and these are tools that what I find fascinating about them is that they work perfectly with human biomechanics. So the way that we move is really in harmony with these tools, you know. So it's not something that you have to, like, for instance, if you look at how someone working out doing Olympic lifting, requires a whole bunch of prerequisites that you may or may not have. You have to have a certain amount of thoracic spine mobility, wrist mobility, mobility in your shoulders, your hips, your Achilles. You know, if you don't have this mobility, you have to work to get it before you can properly Olympic lift, because you're not in what's called anatomical positions. And when you do things from an anatomical position, it eliminates the need for these mobility prerequisites, right? Mm-hmm. So these tools allow you to move in these anatomical positions. So you basically go straight into benefiting from the exercise, as opposed to doing months of prerequisites because maybe you lack the mobility. So those are two tools: the steel mace and the steel club. I also use a tool called the Viper, which is it's like a rubber tube, and it was created by a guy named Michael Dalcourt, who was a strength and conditioning coach for a professional hockey team. And what he found was that the guys on the farm, like when they went into the weight room, these guys were not as strong as weight trained athletes, but out on the ice, they were stronger. And so he was curious, like, why is this the case? And so he went to the farm and he studied how they did things, how they moved. I even know a guy who was a D1 football player, and he said when he got recruited, and he grew up on a farm, right? And he went to college, and after his freshman year, you know, he did all the weight training and stuff, and he came back to the farm, and he said his father wore him out on the farm. He couldn't, even though he was, like, you know, technically stronger from lifting weights in a gym, the activity that he grew up doing on the farm, like, wore him out, and his father was in better shape than him for that, because there's a difference in being strong in a linear way, up, down, front, back, which is the way people train. Right. But in life, in war, you know, like watching an MMA fight, those guys have to be strong everywhere. Mm-hmm. They got to be strong on the ground. They got to be strong tumbling through the air. They have to be strong everywhere. Just being strong in a linear way is not going to cut it. And so the Viper is a tool that allows you to load the body in non-linear positions, in odd positions, to build strength, not just strength, but resiliency throughout the body in ways that you just cannot, you cannot achieve it just with linear lifting. So that's another tool.
I think Gene froze, but he's talking about ways to keep the body strong, and also, guys, getting your testosterone levels taken care of. Many times, guys, when we talk to women about getting their breasts looked at. But low T is a precursor, guys, to a lot of things. Many times, it's a precursor to a low libido. It can be irritation. It can be frustration. It can be visceral fat around the body. Talk about low T, Gene, and the visceral fat around the belly, man, and ways to get rid of that.
Well, one of the best ways to get rid of low T is lifting some weights, lifting some heavy weights. Lifting heavy is particularly lower body. So a lot of guys don't like to, you see these guys with these huge upper bodies and they got these chicken legs. You can't increase your testosterone by just lifting with your upper body. Right. You got to do some squatting. You got to do some deadlifting. You got to sleep. You got to hydrate. You got to manage your stress. Like if you're stressed out, these are things that we can control. There are two modes that we operate in, right? One is called the sympathetic tone. And what that is fight or flight when the person is high stress. So say for instance, you work a lot. You work and you do these shows and stuff. If you don't have the right mindset, if you don't engage in some form of self-care, you could find yourself stressed out and suffering from low T just because of the amount of stress, because you're always going. So we have to pay attention to these things like hydration, nutrition, how we sleep, and how we manage our stress. Yeah, and the guy just wrote Black Maka and Tonka. I take Tonka Ali.
Okay.
Those are good. He's on point.
I'm gonna try some Tonga. What is Tonga Ali? I got Black Maka, but I'm gonna definitely try the Tonga Ali. What is Tonga Ali? Never heard of that.
It's just another. It's like another herb that has been proven to increase testosterone.
Okay, Tonga Ali. Okay, cool.
Tonga Ali. Yeah.
Shout out to my man Top Gun for that $5 super sticker. Thank you, brother. And this is a comprehensive show, Gene, because many men are walking around not feeling like they were in their 20s. Testosterone helps men feel alive. When we were younger, we were a lot more leaner because we had higher testosterone levels. But Gene, there's a myth that as men get older, we know that the testosterone levels start going down somewhat, but we can keep our testosterone healthy by doing certain things. Why is it that people always assume that as men get older, they can't have healthy testosterone levels? Why is that?
Well, I mean, one of the things that no one's talking about is part of the problem with the reason why, a lot of guys, well, some of the things we've already touched on, like, people live a sedentary lifestyle. That does not, people spend hours sitting, hours and hours every day sitting. That does not promote healthy testosterone. We need to be active. Like, I think one of the things that, I talk about a lot, but you don't hear it much as this. So the the way our mind was designed was designed like we use our mind in a very different way from the way it was designed to be used. Right. So we live our lives in our heads, and as far as movement, we just move in a very linear way. We walk to one place, we sit down, we walk to another place. But our brains were designed to work with our nervous system in order to accomplish, tasks that we needed to survive. We had to forage for vegetation. We had to hunt for our protein. You know what I'm saying? We had to build and this dude just said plastic consumption. I'm gonna get to that, brother, because that has, especially when you microwave food in the I forget what it's called, but it's called
phytoestrogen.
Yeah, it gets into your tissues, and you can never remove it. And it not only does it destroy your testosterone, but it promotes estrogen. It promotes so it basically chemically shifts you from being more of a man to like more of a woman, because now you're produced. And you know what they're finding, that a lot of teenagers have low T and suffer from they can't get an erection because they all their, like, we grew up before there was a microwave.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But these young kids who are growing up with microwaving everything, a lot of them, they can't get hard. They have so much of this stuff in their system from the time they were little, that they got these kids on like testosterone replacement and stuff, like teenagers. But what I was saying before is about so what our brain was designed to do was to communicate with our nervous system to facilitate life through tasks that we accomplish. We don't move at that level anymore. So our brain is really sitting there in our head saying, what the F, like what, and our body is not functioning at the level that we're supposed to. Like when there are studies where they go to these these tribes that have not have basically taken on no technology. Like they live the way they've lived for thousands of years, right? And they look at everything they do. They look at how they eat. That's another thing, the way we eat, right? So, but they look at, let me just finish this. They look at how they eat and everything. And what they find is that a lot of these tribes, they live just as long as we do, but healthier. They don't have problems like high blood pressure, diabetes. They're not having heart attacks. They're not getting cancer like we do. 70% of them die from infection. So like if you gave them antibiotics, they would outlive us. They would outlive us. Another thing too is that the stuff that we eat, we don't eat stuff that like what promotes high testosterone is fat, like fat from the animal. Like people are eating the leanest cut of meat. That is not getting it. It's fatty meat, and I'm not talking about meat out of a supermarket, because that meat is full of hormones and antibiotics to keep those animals, hormones to make them get big, and antibiotics because they're living in very close quarters and to keep them from getting each other sick. So that meat is disgusting. But if you get meat from, like, say, grass-fed beef or pasture-raised pork or organic chicken, like that meat is good, and the fat is good. If you go back and you look at indigenous peoples, even now you go around the world and you look, and they're eating and even in the animal kingdom, watch a lion or a tiger kill something. They prioritize the organs. They prioritize the organs. Like we prioritize the cutlets of everything. So it's the least nutritious part of the animal. The most nutritious thing is the blood, which most people aren't going to eat. But then you got the marrow, you got the organs, then you have meat cooked on the bone, and this is being debated: meat cooked on the bone and meat cooked off the bone. But but beyond a shadow of a doubt, the meat that's not connected to anything is trash. And if you eat, you don't have to eat the organs, but there are supplements that you can get where I take a supplement and it has 9 different beef organs in it. You know what I'm saying? And I can't lie. There's a difference. You know what I'm saying? There's a difference. These things these things increase your testosterone, increase your vitality, increase your energy. And it's all natural. It's just eating the organs of an animal.
Yeah. Shout out to Gail Nelson for that $10 super sticker. She said, with how much our society mentally castrate men, and most men being the heaviest they have ever been, I'm not surprised. Do you think nature is adapting? Our society told men testosterone is toxic. Right. And Gail, that's an excellent question. I'm going to get into that. We're going to talk about how environment plays a role. And Gail Nelson, because of your kind and generous relation, you are Gail Nelson, the #1 sponsor of the stream. I appreciate it. And Gene and I are going to get into it because Gene is a fitness expert, and I want him to come on and talk about testosterone. So, Gail Nelson, you're the number one sponsor of the stream. Thank you, dear. So Gail was talking about phytoestrogen, Gene, and we understand that phytoestrogen plays a role. Many times it's in plastic bottles, BPA-free bottles as well. And all the environmental toxins can play a role. Now, Gene, when I was in Brazil, Gail is from Guyana. She's in the northernmost part of South America. That's where the food is natural. Many South American countries don't have GMOs.
Yeah.
And you talked about, Gene, how back in the past, they've done studies that said men testosterone levels were higher in the past compared to men now. And you talk about men having erectile dysfunction in their 20s, which is bad. And so,
in their teens, bro. In their teens.
Right, in their teens, right. And so, yes, I do agree, Gil, that the environment plays a role on the psyche of a man's body, on the psyche of a man's mind, but also his body. In the clinical world, we call it the psychosomatic. The psyche is the mind, soma is the body. So if a person's in a toxic environment, that can play a role. If the food they're eating, that can play an equal role in how men feel and how they perform. And that's why, Gene, a lot of times men, they're in sunny climates where the food is healthy and they're eating like natural food. They feel stronger, they feel younger, and they feel invigorated. But, Gene, you live in New York, and is it safe to say that American culture is so toxic that it is impacting males' testosterone levels? And if so, I'm telling the audience how.
Well, I mean, Gail hit the nail on the head when she said men are being told that masculinity is toxic. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So, like, men are basically running around trying to be. You know what? She just said so many people on a carnivore diet. I eat very close to a carnivore diet, Gail. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very close. My diet consists of meat, fruit, mm-hmm. honey, eggs, butter, raw dairy. I'll eat some green, like microgreens here and there, but I don't mm-hmm. eat a lot of vegetables. Oh wow, she grew up eating liver, marrow, and organ meat. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. She grew up eating the most nutritious foods on the planet. Mm-hmm. Like nothing can compare to what she just wrote. Mm-hmm. Liver, marrow, and organ meat, you can't get better than that.
Right.
I mean, listen, the Maasai tribe in Africa, right? They eat meat, like what she said, meat, organs, right. blood. That's what they eat, meat, organs, and blood. And, they don't eat any vegetables. They have no cancer. They have no high blood pressure. They have no diabetes. They have none of any of this stuff. But yeah, the stress, life is very stressful now, especially in places like where I live. The stress is a big factor, but also like we live in a climate where like to be a man is to be like less than human. You know what I'm saying? And you can see, like, look at people like with Kevin Samuels, or what's the guy that they're trying to ban him now.
Or you're talking about Andrew Tate.
Andrew Tate. Like the reason people men are gravitating to these guys so much is because these are men who are saying being masculine is okay. Being masculine is actually great. Like it's great to be a masculine man. Now, and the thing is that you have to understand, like there's a social and political aspect to this. If you make men ashamed of being masculine, who's going to stand up to any type of tyranny, or when the government oversteps its bounds? Like it's like basically like defanging a tiger or a lion. You're making them docile. Mm-hmm. Making men docile, so it's easier to control them. Mm-hmm. If any masculine masculine men are only going to stand so long for nonsense. Look at how many countries in the past where you have had governments overthrown and uprisings and things happen because those guys were masculine men, and they were willing to fight and even die for what they believed in. But once you remove the testosterone through the lifestyle and also the brainwashing to make men feel like it's wrong to be masculine, you can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want, and that's really what they're trying. I mean, that's a part of this that we're not really discussing. But I think that this is why there's such a big push, an anti-masculinity push in this country, because it makes it easier to control us. The more docile and agreeable men we have, the easier it is to control us.
Yeah, I think it's by design, man. I think it's definitely
I think it is by design.
Social engineering.
Yeah, that's the perfect word for it. Social engineering.
Yeah, shout out to my man DeJuan Holds. He said that avoiding plastic is serious task. Make sure you make your own toothpaste. Use bamboo toothbrushes, BPA free bristles, and check your daily exposure. Salute, brothers, no doubt. Thank you.
He told the truth.
And shout out also to. And Gail is right. Masculine men start revolutions, and I think that's why so many women are repelled and repulsed. Gene, I see so many men compromising their masculinity. There are many men that are in sexless relationships. Some haven't had sex in months and years, and masculine men in other countries, they don't tolerate that BS, man. If you ain't giving that man no sex, he gonna get rid of it. He gonna get it for somebody else until he get rid of you. But why is it, Gene, do men tolerate so much, man? You and I grew up in the 90s, man, and I don't know if you're a Gen Xer, but
I'm right on the line of Gen X and baby boomer. I'm right on the line. So, part of it is okay. So again, like you said, this is by design. But let's go back. You go back to the 70s where social welfare and feminism. So homes, basically homes were being broken up. Now, when they came with the stipulate, someone said, "Hey, Ukrainian women are getting drafted." I have some Wild William 454. I have some friends in Russia. I know a few people in Russia, and they hit me up today and told me that Russians they're drafting boys 18 and up now. So like they just instituted the draft, and wow, now they're drafting women in Ukraine. But anyway, when you go back to that time period, the only group of women that did not push back against the man in the house stipulation were Black women, right? So it was possible to kick the man out of the house in order for the woman to keep her government benefits. Then feminism telling them that they don't need a man. So the overwhelming majority of Black men grew up in a house watching women like run the house and be the head and be the leader and be in charge. And they also heard a lot of anti-male rhetoric and the N-words ain't no good and we ain't SHIT and all this other stuff. So you have a majority of grown men now that did not grow particularly in our community, that did not grow up seeing masculine men as the heads of families. They did not grow up seeing men respected and revered. Like there's no reward in being a man. You're ashamed for being a man. So like how you gonna have masculine men when they're all raised by women? It's like me trying to raise. I have a 15-year-old daughter. It's like me trying to raise a feminine woman. No, her mom has to take care of that. You know what I'm saying? I have to set an example for her as a man, like what she should look for in how I conduct myself and how I treat her. But I can't teach her femininity. So we have generations of men who have been raised by women, and a lot of these women raised the men to raise their sons to be simps. Like basically the way they wanted the men that they've been with to cater to them and kowtow to them, they teach their sons to do this. this is why you see so so much simping on social media. So much simping in life, period. So it's social engineering, but done, through other means, through policy. Policy has created this multi generations of simps and manginas and guys who can't, stand up to women. They're afraid to stand up to women.
They're afraid to stand up to women, right? When you think about Mr. T, he was our childhood hero, and John Wayne. What did Mr. T mean to you? Because he's the perfect poster boy for testosterone. He symbolized masculinity and virility. But what did Mr. T mean to you as a kid growing up, man?
Well, for me, so I'm a little bit older than you. So for me, it wasn't as much Mr. T. It was Muhammad Ali and it was Malcolm X. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you why, because I can remember being a little kid and turning on the TV and seeing this black man just say what he wanted and with complete confidence and self-assuredness. Like, it wasn't like he was saying stuff that he doubted. You see people talking junk and they're trying to convince the other people more, that like they're not convinced and they're trying to convince other people. Like Ali said things with so much self-assuredness. And then, I came across, because him being a Muslim, and I started looking into that. And then I came across Malcolm X. Mm-hmm. And these guys were unapologetically masculine. Mm-hmm. Unapologetically. Like, it blew my mind to like seeing Malcolm tell, white police officers, like they were like, tell your men to like disarm. And he was like, well, we put our guns down when you put yours down. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was no compromise in their masculinity and their manhood. Like, seeing Muhammad Ali talk to white people and tell them about themselves without, no quiver in his voice, no batting of his eyes, none of that. Mm-hmm. None. Like, I'm fortunate in that I'm old enough where I saw this, like, on television. I saw these guys talking, and I'm like, holy cow. And then also, even bigger was like, I've told you about my uncles and my father. Like, my father had like 15 brothers, man. My uncles were sent up from the South because they would not comply with, that second-class citizenship. A bunch of them, not all of them. Some of them were ministers and they complied. But the ones that were not ministers, they were not in compliance. And they were sent to New York to get them away from, potential trouble, like getting lynched or killed or something, because they just weren't having that. They weren't being told what to do and being called boy and all that. They weren't going for that. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so, I had those examples around me my whole life. So the idea, and then I told you this too, my mother and father split when I was young, but my mother was raised by her father. Her mother ran off to New York and left my grandfather with 5 of the 6 kids. She took her youngest daughter with her. So my mother was raised by her father, and my mother, so my mother had reverence for men. You know what I'm saying? And my mother raised me and my brother as men. Like, my sisters, I'm the youngest. My sisters were all older than me, but they had to respect me as a man, as per my mother's direction. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, and my father was always around. My uncles were always around. So, those were my influences. Like, I saw my mother have a great respect for manhood and masculinity. She always pushed us to hang out with our father. My father always came around. She always pushed us. I would spend summers with my uncles, like the ones that were sent up here, the super masculine ones. Right. I would spend summers with them. Like, it was always around me, And then, like I said, Ali, Malcolm X, like, it just, that they were more in line with the men in my own family, guys who were unapologetically masculine. So those were my influences.
Yeah. And that's powerful, man. I would say, Gene, that the biggest precursor to lowering men testosterone is bad relationships. And we're going to talk about that in a minute, because the gospel said that a quarrelsome and contentious woman can run a man to the rooftop. But in the meantime, let's look at this clip by this guy, man, talking about testosterone levels. And I want you to tell me what you think about the whole type, bro.
Okay.
And guys, thank you and get the likes of my appreciate to everyone that's donated on tonight. I'm not gonna be with you guys long, because shows like this don't get a lot of views, but it's one of the shows I felt that was necessary, and I decided to.
After we come back from this clip, I want to comment on that because I actually made a post in a Black fitness group recently, dealing with something similar.
Okay, cool. All right, hold tight, Jim. Hold tight.
Real quick, if you are a business owner, please pay attention to this message because I want.
All right, so hold tight. I don't get this.
Don't know who Charles Poliquin is? Let me give you a quick background. Charles Poliquin is recognized as one of the world's most successful strength coaches, having coached Olympic medalists.
That's not it. I'm not looking for that. That's wrong. All right, hold on. I got the wrong one. But while I'm trying to find that, Gene, go ahead on and talk about hold tight.
You got it?
I'm trying to find it. But in the meantime, keep talking about what you were talking about.
Okay, so recently I made a post in a Black fitness group talking about how, it's unfortunate that everyone focuses on the aesthetic aspects of fitness when the overwhelming majority of the benefits of fitness are health related. And here it is, we're in a community where I really despise when I hear Black people say, Black don't crack. And the reason I despise that is because I don't know, people don't seem to realize this, but we have the shortest life expectancies in the first world.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody outlives us.
Mm-hmm.
So we're cracking from the inside.
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm.
And yet everyone from a fitness standpoint is only concerned with the outside, with how they look. Mm-hmm. My background in fitness, I was fortunate that early on in my career, I was connected to people who were at the forefront of exercise science as it relates to health outcomes and our ability to function and things like neuroplasticity, which is the brain, increasing the brain's capacity to learn.
Right.
And fostering that relationship between the brain and the nervous system. I mean, think about it like this, bro. How many people, and these are the sort of things that cross my mind, how many people have died in accidents that could have been avoided if their brain had a better relationship with their nervous system so that they could have, gathered themselves and avoided harm, gotten themselves out of harm's way. But because they were required to move in an instant in a way that was unfamiliar to them because they don't move like that. They don't diversify their movements. Mm-hmm. They were not able to get out of harm's way. There's countless people in the grave. Like people don't understand. There's so many very simple things that you can do that have huge implications as far as like your quality of life. Another example is older people. When they fall and they break their hip, they have a life expectancy of only 2 years, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But if you train, there's a certain way to train. It's called going long under load. There's a style of training called loaded movement training. I have certifications in it. I'm expert level at this thing. So, and what it does is when you go long under load, not only are you loading your muscles and there's a tremendous amount of core work going on, but you're also fostering that relationship between your brain and your nervous system where they're communicating. And here's where significant, we're talking about people falling. You're also loading your proprioceptors. Now we have 9 times the proprioceptors in our connective tissue that we do in our muscles, and you're loading those proprioceptors in your connective tissue. What do they do? Proprioceptors, they tell you your orientation to ground. So if an older person is falling and they have their proprioception is dull because they haven't really been diversifying their movement patterns. And if you notice, this is why when you see old people walking and they start shuffling, the reason they start shuffling is because their sense of balance and stability is shrinking. So they take these little tiny steps to feel safe. They can't take a regular step because they feel like they're losing balance by doing that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But if you train them in this way and you're loading the proprioceptors, you restore that relationship between the brain and the nervous system. So when that person goes to fall, instead of hitting the ground before they realize that they fall, they put their hands out and they catch themselves.
Right.
So if that person puts their hand out and they catch themselves and they don't break their hip, then, you know, you've saved that person's life, because the typical elderly person dies after 2 years if they fall and break their hip. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
I can give you I give you another one. Getting down on the ground and getting up. Do you know they can look at your ability to get down on the ground and get off the ground, your grip strength, not how big your biceps are, not how much you can bench press, you know, not how much you can deadlift, but your grip strength, your ability to get up off the ground, your grip strength, and how long you spend sitting every day. And they can predict pretty accurately how long you're going to live.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And if you think about,
right.
So these are some of the things that, you know, are available to us through another one. Say you're a person that has high blood pressure, right? Do you know getting the ground to standing? There's these drills, and a ground to standing drill can be anything you want it to be. But your ability to get down, get on the ground, and get off the ground, do you know that can regulate your blood pressure? And it can, and also can regulate something called your parasympathetic tone. So this goes to what you were talking about with a woman, with living with, you know, like unhealthy relationships, right? So an unhealthy relationship, the cause of your testosterone lowering would be stress from that relationship,
Stress.
right?
Cortisol. Yes, sir.
Right. So stress, stress and cortisol. So that is called sympathetic tone, fight or flight, right? So think about this: a man in a relationship, and I'm loving that I get to talk about this stuff, because you know what? I know all of this stuff, and it's made me a lot of money as far as like training people. But the average person doesn't want to hear this stuff.
No,
Like,
you're right. You're right.
they don't want to hear it. It's like I'm in a completely different lane of fitness that people don't appreciate, but they don't realize they need it.
They need
So
it. And similar to what this brother's saying, Capricorn said, shows like this should get a lot of views. There's so many Alice-shaped brothers when I go overseas needing to pop a pill to get up.
He's right.
And see, Gene, that's my point.
Yeah.
I would love to do more shows educating men about health and wellness.
Yeah.
But we don't like stuff like
no,
that.
you don't have to. You preach into the choir, man. I understand it.
Yeah,
but let me finish making this
ahead,
point. I want to bring this home for you. So you brought up relationships, right? So if a man is in a relationship and the woman is stressing him out, right? Do you know the guy could? This is how simple some things are. He could literally go in another room and do ground to standing drills. So like, again, we said that a sympathetic tone is when you're stressed out, fight or flight, right? You could do a bunch of ground to standing drills and restore yourself to parasympathetic tone, which is, so basically bring your stress levels down, bring your cortisol levels down, simply by getting on the ground and getting off the ground repeatedly. It doesn't matter how you do it. There's no set way to do it. So you can just, entertain yourself by figuring out, hey, I want to get on the ground this way and get off the ground this way. Now I'm going to get on the ground this way and get off the ground that way. And not only are you regulating your parasympathetic tone, but you're regulating your blood pressure too. Right. Just by getting on the ground and getting off the ground, level change. I could go on and on about this stuff. There's so many health benefits available to us that people don't care about because they just want to look in the mirror.
Right.
They want to look good in the mirror, and that's all they think about.
Right. Shout out to my man MC Recovering Will. He said that's what happens. Happened to me being in a confused toxic relationship. Had my sex drive low, just made me mix greens, garlic, berries, a little orange juice, OJ, and ginger juice. No doubt. I appreciate it, man. And I got the video, Jim. I'm going to show it to you real quick.
Okay, awesome.
And then we're going to look at this show topic about men are dying. They're actually dying, Gene, because they're in toxic relationships. And they talk about how marriage is killing men. They did a study in the past, Gene, and that study said that men that are in married relationships live longer, but that's a myth and a misnomer. If that man is in a healthy relationship, of course he'll live longer.
Yeah.
But if he's in a damn bad marriage, it's going to kill him. And it's happening to a lot of men, Gene, and that's why I did this show, because an ounce of prevention is worth than cure, however that slogan goes.
Yeah, ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Worth a pound of cure, right?
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
Sadly, man, I got to start getting back in shape, start lifting. I got a bike. I'm gonna start riding my bike again. I'm gonna start doing more deadlifts. Start trying to get my rest. And thank you, I appreciate it, Gene, because you're right. I am type A, and I'm getting better. I eat oatmeal every morning with peanut butter and walnuts, and I put a little bit of blueberries in it from time to time. Green apples. I try to drink plenty of water. And what I do, Gene, the water I drink is from like a tin. I forgot what you call it, but it's BPA
alkaline
free.
water.
Well, it's from a filter that I bought. This whole water filtration system was about $400. But I try to drink it every day. It makes sure my water intake, because I don't mess with plastic bottled water. I don't mess with it because of the estrogen. But I want to show you this guy, Gene. Let's look at it real quick, and then we're gonna break it down. Hold tight.
We're gonna start right now. One thing that no one wants to hear.
Oh, I know this guy very
is
well.
your diet. Crappy diet leads to low test and low motivation. A lot of food is created to taste really, really good. And what this does is it leads to eating for pleasure instead of sustenance. And what we end up doing is we overeat and we get a lot of fat storage right on our gut. And this is one of the hardest things to fix and the hardest thing to commit to. When I'm fatter, over 240 pounds, my testosterone is always below 700. But when I get leaner and I'm down around 230, even a little bit below 230, my testosterone levels tend to get up closer to 1,000 because I'm healthier and my body is functioning at a higher degree. Poor sleep also leads to a crazy negative impact on overall testosterone levels. This is extremely hard to fix. There's even a lot of research on men that have a newborn child typically will see a bit of a plummet in their overall testosterone levels because there's an interruption on their overall sleep pattern. Sleep helps stabilize hormones. It helps with recovery. It helps with managing stress. And that's why it's extremely important to figure out how you can manage it consistently. Travel is another thing that can lead to a massive disruption in sleep. When you're changing time zones, when you're flying all over the place, you're not sleeping in the same bed. This leads to a disruption in sleep. Personally, when I travel all over the place, if I come home and get my blood work done, I might drop 200 to 250 points on my overall testosterone score. So how can we improve our overall?
Gene, he said something that was very profound. He talked about having a lean core, and he's right. It sounds like that visceral fat. I wrote, what the role does fat play on your testosterone? And it sounds like that fat gene is causing a lot of men T levels to drop. Let's talk about that in less than 2 minutes. I want to finish looking at it, but let's talk about sleep and also fat around the belly, because I can stand to lose some. I know if I get this weight down, Gene, you and I met, you felt my grip. I got a strong grip.
Yeah, you got good grip.
Yeah, if I get this weight down, Gene, probably about 240, start lifting again, start getting back to lifting. I think my levels will go up because, Gene, we're going to talk about the dangers of also hormone replacement, testosterone, TRT, testosterone replacement therapy, how that can be dangerous because it basically stops the testicles from working. But in another 3 minutes, Gene, what do you think about what he's saying, man, real quick?
Oh, well, I'm super familiar with this guy. I'm on his channel. I've interacted with him a few times. I mean, he's dead. He's right on point. Like everything he's saying is true. There's there's nothing to dispute. He's 100% right.
And having a lean core and a lean mass, why is that so important in your opinion?
Well, visceral, like the fat around your organs, has been connected to everything from higher incidence of every type of disease to low testosterone. It just your body just does not function well with fat, and particularly for men with fat around the midsection. It just doesn't. That fat is very unhealthy for us. You know, I will say this. I mean, to his point. Now, I remember going back a number of years. I was about 255. Actually, I got up to about 262, and I went to the doctor, and my testosterone was on the lower side. It was like just lower, below normal, right?
So tell me what your numbers were, Gene.
I forget what my numbers were, but they were below normal for my age, right? And so when I went to, so a year later, I went back for my physical. You know, I got down to about, it wasn't even a huge amount of weight. So I went from like say 262 to like 245, and my testosterone doubled.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it literally doubled. Just getting that 17 pounds off, and being just like more consistent with my training, because at one point, you know, like I told you, when I was at Equinox, you know, I was, you know, quote unquote top 100 trainer. So I was super busy. I was busy working all the time. I had this girlfriend who was like OCD. So like every time before we went to bed, everything had to be done. Like everything had to be in place. And then, you know, we both were super attracted to each other. So I would end up having sex like 12 or 1 in the morning, you know, and getting like 2-3 hours of sleep, and then having to be at work at 5:30 in the morning.
Right.
You know, so it totally killed my testosterone, man. But I broke up with her. And I focused on, you know, just being more consistent with my training and my diet. I dropped that 17 pounds. I built some muscle. I went back to the doctor. My testosterone was double.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I appreciate that, Gene. And that's what I'm going to try to do, man. I want to get this weight off. I want to get down, get leaner, and start biking again, man, so I can get my levels. My levels are not bad. It's above normal, but for my age, you know, I was talking to one of my clients. He was 61, and he had T levels around about 513, which is damn good for a 61-year-old man, because the highest is around 1,000. But I always tell Gene, if your testosterone level, like say a man is 42, and the doctor said, well, you got normal testosterone, but it's 300. That's not good. It's normal, but it's low normal. You got low normal, then you got normal, and then you got optimized level. Optimized levels are on the higher end. And then also you got something called free testosterone. What's your take, Gene, on hormone replacement therapy? Before you tell me, let's finish looking at this. But in the meantime, James Turner said that, salute to you, Coach, and your guest. I had to learn the hard way that being around the wrong people can literally get on your nerves and make you sick. And I appreciate it, man. And that's a deal, right? I appreciate it.
That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
Haven't seen you in a while. And I'm going to talk about that. It's called the cycle, right?
That's a deal, right?
I'm going to speed it up because I'm going to get me some rest. But James Turner, because of your offering and your donation, it was Gail Nelson, but James Turner, now you are, brother, you are the #1 sponsor of the stream, and I appreciate it, Gail. I mean, James
no, there
Turner.
was one higher than that, bro.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Go back.
Higher? Okay, I get it. Hold on. No, it wasn't one higher. It was only $5.
Oh, I thought I saw one that was $50. My bad.
No, 50 is red. Yeah, but I appreciate it. So we're going to finish listening to this. And Jim, you give them some awesome information, man. Hold tight.
Thank you.
Quality of sleep. The first thing you have to do is establish a sleep ritual. I would say about an hour out from your normal scheduled sleep time. Try to have a consistent.
I have lost 104 pounds.
I lost 50 pounds.
And I lost about 30 pounds.
Schedule. When's the last time you're going to look at your cell phone? When's the last time that you're going to look at blue light? Are you able to turn the lights off and use real lights, like candlelight? That can actually improve your overall sleep because it prepares your body for bedtime. I also recommend you can take something like inositol or magnesium glycinate, or if you use something like 40 Winks, a ZMA, that can also improve
I use
sleep.
ZMA.
Yeah, that glycinate, I take magnesium glycinate. That glycinate is off the chain. It gives me deep, restful sleep. That deep, restful sleep, guys, can help build your testosterone levels. But we're going to finish talking about hold tight.
Quality. And that can be seen even if you're tracking on a Fitbit or on a Garmin. You can actually see what improves your overall sleep patterns. Let's say you get home late and you have to wake up early and you're only getting 6 to 7 hours of sleep. I recommend try to get 15 to 20 minutes of a nap halfway through the day. Another interesting factor that we're starting to see in science and in research is that if you get outside and you get real direct sunlight in the middle of the day, that's going to help with your circadian rhythm, and it will lead to better sleep. So if you feel tired, you're lacking motivation, you should be concerned with your overall testosterone levels. And that's why I recommend checking out today's video sponsor, Let's Get Checked. Let's face it, low testosterone sucks. Not only do you lose muscle mass, you also have a bit of a memory and mood issue. And this could even have a negative impact on your sex drive. Take it from the guy who has 4 kids. So it's important that you know your testosterone levels and all of your other hormone levels so you can live a healthy and happy life. Let's Get Checked is a worldwide leader in at-home testing kits, and their male hormone panel helps you get tested in the comfort of your own home. You can order a testing kit that will be delivered to you in a discreet package. Once your sample arrives in the laboratory, confidential results will be available from your secure online account within 2 to 5 days. These results are reviewed by a clinician, and a member of the Let's Get Checked nursing team may call you to review your results. So if you want to test your hormone levels without leaving the comfort of your own home, head to trylgc.com/G-strength or use promo code GarageStrength25 to get 25% off your hormone testing kit. So be cautious and make sure you use Let's Get Checked to check your hormones, because this next tip could save your life. Autoimmune diseases could completely destroy your testosterone and eventually could lead to a destruction of the quality of your life. Many men go around feeling fatigued, unmotivated, and then unbeknownst to them, they get diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder. This could be a disease like lupus or rheumatoid arthritis. Both of these types of diseases can totally wreak havoc on your overall well-being. Personally, I have a very close friend who struggled for over a decade before he was diagnosed with Hashimoto's disease. This is a disease that can wreak havoc on your thyroid, your testicles, your overall testosterone production, and if that's not identified, you're going to struggle mightily with being motivated in life. And that's why it's important that you have hormonal checkups every 6 to 8 months. That provides a nice baseline that you can then monitor along with your doctor, and then you can feel and see how you progress throughout your life. And if anything crazy like an autoimmune pops up, you already have that baseline to build from. Resistance training is another major factor. A lot of people forget that the more you actually train, the more you do strength-based training, the more lean muscle mass you have. The more lean muscle mass you have, typically the higher your metabolism, and in turn, the healthier you're gonna be hormonally. A lot of times we can see a direct response acutely as soon as we're done a resistance-based training session. I've gotten my blood work done within an hour and a half, 2 hours of doing a workout and seen a nice boost in my testosterone. So Lyme disease is something else that can wreak total havoc on your testosterone levels. Personally, I dealt with Lyme disease for over 2.5 years. And what ended up happening was for the first 6 months, doctors couldn't figure out what was going wrong with me. They had no baseline. I had no blood work for years prior to figuring out that I had Lyme disease. And after about 6 months, they noticed my white blood cells are completely off the chart. They initially thought I had lupus and leukemia, but then after having multiple different blood tests done, they started to figure out that those white blood cells were really high because of an infection. That infection was Lyme disease, and then that led to my treatment later on. I got tested for months, and my lowest testosterone point, I had a score of 223.
Oh, wow.
I went on antibiotic treatments and antiprotozoa treatments for over 2 years, and that got me back up to around 340 on the total test score, but I was still struggling to figure out different factors around sleep. I was still struggling to figure out how to manage my stress, how to actually recover from my day-to-day grind, not even including resistance-based training, but just going to work and dealing with people all the time. And that's one of the main focuses, one of the main lessons that I learned from getting Lyme disease was trying to figure out that happy balance and then bringing in things like resistance-based training and a healthier diet. Keeping your testosterone levels high is extremely difficult, especially as you get older. But it can't be denied that eating healthy, doing resistance-based training, and getting tons of sleep will help keep that testosterone level nice and stable. Make sure that you try to get your hormone levels checked every 6 months. Talk with your doctor so that you guys can set up a nice, consistent schedule to establish that baseline. So if you need help with improving your overall nutrition, click on the link down below, head over to garagestrength.com. You can pick up the high performance nutrition program. And if you need some help with your resistance-based training, you can pick up the...
All right, Jim, what did you think about that, brother?
I think, you know, he was on point about everything. The one thing I was waiting for him to say that he didn't say is that, you know, so when you're talking about resistance training and testosterone, there's a hierarchy. You know what I'm saying? Like, so the hierarchy is that lower body compound movements are your greatest bang for buck when it comes to increasing your testosterone. Like upper body stuff is not even close. So like heavy squats, heavy deadlifts, but I'm not the biggest fan of a deadlift, and I'll tell you why. Because the risk reward is like people get hurt a lot doing deadlifts. The risk to reward is really high, so high that so this guy he was a college I think he was like a shot putter or something, the garage strength guy. But if my point is, if you were to go in the gym and you were to watch football players, and like strongmen and stuff, or even Olympic lifters, you won't see them doing deadlifts. What they do is cleans instead. Like a clean is a lot safer than a deadlift. Or another version is the hex bar deadlift. And the hex bar deadlift kind of like the traditional deadlift is a almost 100% posterior chain exercise. Now, don't get me wrong; it's a great lift to make you stronger. But the reason they don't do that lift in sports is that one, the position of the lift, the strength curve that you develop doesn't really translate well to sports, and the risk of getting injured. So you can do cleans, which is also a posterior chain exercise, but cleans have a much lower risk of injury. And so there are a lot of guys a lot of professional athletes who only do cleans, college athletes and stuff. They don't do any deadlifting. They do cleans, and then they'll go and say they didn't deadlift in 2 years. They'll go and deadlift, and they'll PR on their deadlift because they're both pulls. They're just done differently. It's a big pull. That's all it is. Right. It's a big pull, just like a bench press is a big push. A clean or a deadlift is a big pull, but the clean is a lot safer as far as like putting your lower back at risk.
I see your point. Right.
Yeah. So you won't see you will not see NFL teams and college football teams. You will not see them deadlifting, even though it does make you stronger. But the risk reward is high. Like people get hurt a lot.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So cleans are better.
All right. Let me. I want to show you something. We were talking about how our relationships can hurt. And this is from 21 Studios, guys, and this is fair use. I'm not going to be with you guys long tonight because I got to get my rest. And,
I hear you, bro. I got a 6 o'clock client.
Yeah, you're right, man. So we're going to speed this up. But talk about the marriage strike is marriage killing men. And marriage is not only killing men, Gene, but also is low in testosterone levels. And we're going to talk about it. Hold tight. 1 minute.
Again. Excuse me, I'm mansplaining here. She said there's nothing.
Welcome back to the 22 convention of 2021 in Orlando, Florida.
The man in that clip, Anthony Dream Johnson, who says he wants to abolish feminism and make women great again.
No, but it also says, with a trademark, make women great again. For women, always great.
Make women great again.
But they're going to do a 3-day seminar for women led by all men.
In mansplaining news, a 3-day conference for women led by men hopes to make women great again.
How the 22 convention will make you the greatest you ever. Raise your femininity by 500%.
First of all, how is a man supposed to tell a woman how to be the ultimate woman?
But women need to be taught how to be great again.
Oh,
Not my words.
yes, we do. Like how to land a husband, how to lose weight, how to pop out a bunch of kids.
Why do men think they need to fix the problems of women?
Well, it says the world's ultimate event for women.
In Orlando, Florida, that's going to be the scene of the crime. It's mansplaining palooza, and say no to the toxic bullying feminist dogma.
Taught by men to make women great again.
Taking the stage now is the founder of the 22 convention. You're in for a treat, Mr. Anthony Dream Johnson.
Anthony
Once again, fair use, fair use. I can't play all of this, but fair use.
Dream Johnson.
Anthony Dream Johnson.
The first president of the manosphere.
It's run by all men, which promises to, quote, make women great again.
This course is guaranteed to raise your femininity by 500%.
Together, we will make women great again. Excuse me, I'm mansplaining here. She said there's nothing...
Welcome back to the 22 convention of 2021 in Orlando, Florida. This is a special, rare event. This is what happens when you ladies get together and voice what you would like to see happen. And you requested the following individual to come and specifically speak about a topic dear and near to many of the manosphere's hearts, and he's going to be doing it today. He's an individual I've come to know over the last couple of months, and in the hours and days of this convention, we spent a tremendous amount of time talking and sharing ideas. His personal story is one of true mark, but in this particular case, he's going to be talking about a little bit different subject, one near and dear to my heart, on which I too am facing. And this is simply the fact that men are on marriage strike. We simply refuse to submit to civil marriage under the conditions in which marriage exists today. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce Jeff Younger talking about why men refuse to get married. Thank you.
Thank you, Socrates. I really enjoyed my discussions with Socrates, and he's a lovely and gracious wife who's been so kind to me. There's a movement, and nobody talks about it. Even men don't talk about it very much. A movement to avoid marriage, and it's mostly among young men. And often, when I try to talk to people about this, particularly women get very angry with me. Like, I'm not advocating this. I just want you to know, I'm not advocating this. I'm an Orthodox Christian, and I deeply believe in holy matrimony. Holy matrimony is not what civil marriage is today, though. It's actually the opposite. So I'm going to ask you not to shoot the messenger here. Yeah? I'm trying to just describe things.
So James, we talked about that. James asked you a question in another 1 minute. I want to finish.
Yeah,
he said that.
I'll answer it.
Go ahead, James.
Vegetables aren't real. I hate to say it, but they're not really important. Like the fatty meats, things like butter, like the young lady said, marrow, organ meats, whole milk, whole dairy. Those are the things that are going to up your testosterone, not vegetables. People tell you that, but that's really not true.
Okay. All right.
Things. I'm not advocating for them. I was actually interviewed for this book. This is a book by Helen Smith. If any of you follow the blog Instapundit, which is one of the most popular blogs in the world, Glenn Reynolds, who's a law professor in Tennessee, this is his wife. And she is a psychologist, a social psychologist, and she did a lot of study on this, why men aren't marrying. Well, here's the good news. Divorce rates are declining. Here's the bad news. They're declining because marriage rates are declining. And we don't really talk about that. Look at women's marital status. You see how the never married and married are coming together? And the divorce rate is moving up slightly. Look at men. Same thing, same pattern.
Gene Davis, why are men not getting married? Based on what you've seen from an anecdotal perspective, why are men not getting married?
It's a bad deal for men. It's a very bad deal. I mean, look, okay, so let's look at the numbers. 70% of women file for divorce. 80% of black women file for divorce. 90% of educated women file for divorce. What does that tell you? That tells you that the modern woman, it's almost impossible to make her happy. So you're gonna end up divorced. It just depends on when. And a lot of it is the society has catered to women to the point where, now, bro, I'm a single guy. I'm out here. I come across a boatload of women. Like, I can't even keep up with the number of women that I come across, right? And the one thing that you consistently see is that they see relationships from the perspective of serving their purpose, making them happy.
Right.
Like, you don't even exist in the relationship. You're like a tool to facilitate their happiness. And that's it. And so, and nobody can make another person happy. So it's a mission that's destined to fail, because you have to make yourself happy. Another person can't. And they're literally looking for men to make them happy when they're not happy. Another thing is this: over 25% of women are on mental health medications, and that's the ones that's been diagnosed. How high is it? How high are the ones that haven't been diagnosed? So you got all these mentally and emotionally unhealthy women out here, who are not happy. And that's another thing with the 21 Convention. It's funny that they were saying, make women great again. Women have the most freedom they've ever had, but they report the highest levels of unhappiness they've ever been. So here they are clowning these guys about saying, make women great again. But women, by their own admission, are more unhappy than they've ever been. So why would you marry into that situation when it's a no-win situation, unless you find like a virgin or something who had, and then that's the other thing. All these high body counts, these women can't pair bond. You know what I'm saying?
People don't believe it, Gene. They don't believe it, but it's true.
Listen, I know, because I've been with women with high body counts. I've been with women without high body counts. So women this is what I see consistently with women with high body counts, right? They tend to self-medicate. They suffer from depression. Every last one of them had been to some sort of like therapy, and they are insecure in ways that make no sense. Like they'll do very strange things. Like you can't even begin to understand. Like, for instance, one woman that I was with, when me and her broke up, she literally went on Facebook and she combed through my profile, and every woman that I had a conversation with, she reached out to them on Facebook, like called them through Messenger and asked them had I slept with them. Now, mind you, we had both moved on, and she was in a relationship with another guy, and she was 4 or 5 months pregnant when she was doing this. You know what I'm saying? So she's pregnant by another guy on Facebook, grilling women about what happened with, whether or not I slept with, and I had not slept with anybody. They all told her no, and she cursed them out and told them that they were lying. But I mean, this is the type of stuff these women with high body counts, they're not built for that. They're not meant for that. Right. And the repercussions of it, I've yet to see a woman with a high body count that was mentally and emotionally heavy, that did not self-medicate, the other thing is that they all suffer from depression. They all suffer from depression. They all, in and out of therapy. They're not happy.
Well, society lied to them, man. They told them they can do what men do, not understanding you can, but you shouldn't. And, it got a lot of broken, miserable women. When you think about our mothers and our grandparents, those women were a lot more happier. They had their own issues, but they weren't as distraught as women are now. Like you said, women got more now, and they're more distraught and unhappy. And it basically more or less supposes that they got out of their natural order, and then because of that, they're suffering because they believed a lie. Hold tight and finish playing this, Gene. Hold tight.
Yep.
They're beginning to converge. Men in particular, you see that line steeper, men in particular are refusing to marry. And there's some reasons for that I think you'll find surprising, things that are somewhat counterintuitive even. First of all, I would like all of you to Google this and download this study. It's one of the few comprehensive studies that have been done on why women file for divorce. At least in your state, at least 70% of all divorces will be sought by women, not by men.
I just said that.
In my state and in Dallas County, where I live, it's upwards of 90% are sought by women. Now, by the way, the stereotype about Dallas divorce lawyers is true. Dallas has the highest divorce rate of any county in the United States, and it's way higher than the closest one behind it. You can go get rich in Dallas doing divorce law. But there's a quote from the final conclusion that I wanted to read. We have found that who gets the children is by far the most important component in deciding who files for divorce. When they ran different statistical models and they did surveys, what they found was the main reason women were filing for divorce was to get sole control of the children. And that allowed them to get sole control of property and money. One of the big issues here is that we have no-fault divorce, right? There was a time, when I was born, 1965, you couldn't just get divorced if you wanted to. There were only 5 reasons in the state of Texas, where I'm from, that you could get a divorce. Divorce only happened for cause. In marriages without children, it would often be granted, just as no-fault divorce. But marriages with children, neither parent was allowed to run out on the children unless one of 5 things happened. These are things like marital fraud, domestic violence, infidelity, things like that. But right now, marriages can just be terminated. So people think of marriage as a kind of a contract, but it is not a contract. You can't run out on contracts anytime you want, but you can marriages. Here's one of the main issues driving divorce and has gotten the government involved in promoting divorce. Government promotes marriage in order to promote divorce. Government makes money on divorce. Title 4D is a federal program which gives matching funds for the collection of child support. It's about 66 cents on the dollar. I don't know about other states, but I know Texas, it's about $500 million comes from the federal government to the state in Title 4D funds. It funds our entire Attorney General's office. So when you hear Ken Paxton is suing the federal government for something Texas doesn't like that they're doing, all that's being funded by child support. Okay? To 20 years in Texas, right? Because it can go into college, right? She gets half of the marital assets, right? And she may get spousal support if she's been, in Texas, we really don't have alimony. You have to have been with a man for 10 years. And then you can get temporary alimony for 2 years, right? So you may get that. So you're asking women, think about how easy it is to just file and you get that. You get all of this money and sole control of the kids. And you're asking women to not do that. In marriages sometimes are tremendously difficult. I'm often fond of quoting Aristotle that, happiness is not an emotion. Joy, we used to have a different distinction between joy and happiness. Joy is the emotion you feel, but happiness is not an emotion. Ask people who've climbed Mount Everest and they say, hey, it's the happiest day of my life being on Mount Everest. Yeah, you're dying. You go above that oxygen zone and you start dying. And the question is, can you come down before you die? You're in absolute agony. I have a friend of mine who plays professional rugby, and he's like in the championship. He broke 3 ribs, played through it. He was in absolute pain. He says, happiest day of my life was playing that game. He felt no joy, yet he was happy, right? Happiness is an activity in accord with virtue. Joy is an emotion. You could be happy in a marriage, but not be experiencing joy all the time, right? You're doing the right thing, and you're committed to doing the right thing. So you're asking women, who may be in difficult times, to not push this win button and get all this, sole control of the children and everything. It's a huge temptation. I don't think men adequately understand that.
Gene Davis, why is marriage so risky in your opinion in modern times?
This spring, give yourself some space with a garage transformation from Hello Garage.
Say again, brother.
Really, for the reasons I said, like, there's nothing. What do men gain from getting married? Like, think about it. You don't even gain a wife. Like, how many women have you come across that you could say are qualified to be a wife in a traditional sense? And the traditional sense matters because they typically want us to be husbands in a traditional sense. Like, they want a provider, they want a protector. You know, they want, when something goes bump in the night, they want you to go and take care of it. They want you to do all the things that men traditionally do, and they want to pick and choose what they do. So, like, what is the and they're the first to bail. Like Kevin Samuels would always say, they're the ones who are the home wreckers. They're the first to bail. You know, you have kids and stuff. Now the kids, that becomes a weapon against you to take over property that more than likely, first of all, how many women are marrying guys that make less than them? So most women are looking for guys that make more than them, which means you've contributed more to the ownership of property. You've contributed more to the well-being of your kids, and then they're going to use that against you to take your property and get money from you for your kids. So it's like the ultimate weapon against men. Like, the deeper you get into a marriage from a commitment standpoint, like having kids and having property, the more leverage they have against you.
Right.
So what would be the point of doing that? Like, you just setting yourself up to get God.
I agree. Let's play this real quick. Hold tight.
Yeah.
And their mom, make sure she was okay, right? We need to do these things for each other. The divorce courts have a profound bias against giving military fathers custody. They often get, in Texas, less than standard custody. Less than standard custody. So you need to, if you're going in the military, whether you're male or female, you need to be very careful about getting married and think very carefully about that. Good question. Anything else? Thank you very much.
We could win this war.
We can win this war.
Okay, well, joining us from Orlando, Florida, is the man in that clip, Anthony Dream Johnson, who says he wants to abolish feminism and make women great again.
No, but it also says, with the trademark, make women great again. For women, always great.
Make women great again.
But they're going to do a 3-day seminar for women led by all men.
In mansplaining news, a 3-day conference for women led by men hopes to make women great again.
How the 22 convention will make you the greatest you ever. Raise your femininity by 500%.
First of all, how is a man supposed to tell a woman how to be the ultimate woman?
But women need to be taught how to be great again.
Oh,
Not my
yes,
words.
we do. Like how to land a husband, how to lose weight, how to pop out a bunch of kids.
Why do men think they need to fix the problems of women?
Well, it says the world's ultimate event for women.
In Orlando, Florida, that's going to be the scene of the crime. It's mansplaining palooza, and say no to the toxic bullying feminist dogma.
Taught by men to make women great again.
Taking the stage now is the founder of the 22 convention. You're in for a treat, Mr. Anthony.
Gene Davis, some men say that, and I don't want to say it myself, but some say that women are children.
Well, I mean, I get why they would.
Why do they say that, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, look at children. Children are kind of all over the place. And a lot of times women are too, especially when they get in their feelings. You know, you put it this way, and I'm not saying this is true of all women, because I've known women who are like very logical to the point of being like a man actually. But a lot of women, when they get in their feelings, you tell me you tell me the difference between them and a kid throwing a tantrum. Like, is there really a whole lot of difference? Honestly, I mean, when a kid is when a kid is, in some sort of mood because they're not getting their way, they say all types of stuff that's not true. They'll say, they'll even make up stuff because they're angry. Like they'll say stuff that just has no basis in truth whatsoever. Can you honestly say you've never seen women do the exact same thing? I mean, that's what Kevin Samuels was talking about with the sign language. Shame, insults, guilt, the need to be right. None of it having anything to do with reality. Kids and women do the same thing. They vacate reality when things don't go their way. So from that standpoint, and also a lot of times it's hard to hold a child accountable. It's everything, it's the dog ate my homework. It's all these excuses that they come up with. A lot of women do the same thing. I mean, there's just a lot of parallels to behavior, between women and kids.
Right. Yeah, Tim Howard said that the war against boys and men started a long time ago. Men are just now starting to fight back. I totally agree. We're going to talk about hormone replacement therapy. I'm not necessarily a fan of it, but we're going to talk about it in a minute. Hold tight.
Dream Johnson.
Anthony Dream Johnson.
Anthony Dream Johnson.
The first president of the manosphere.
It's run by all men, which promises to, quote, make women great again.
This course is guaranteed to raise your femininity by 500%.
Together, we will make women great again.
Excuse me, I'm mansplaining here. She said there's nothing radical.
This is Will Spencer from the Renaissance of Men here with the new 21 Report and Jeff Younger.
How do you do?
Doing well, sir. How are you?
Well.
So talk a little bit about your speech at 21 Patriarchs event.
Well, I wanted to inform people about what's happening to my son. My ex-wife has been trying to transition my son to a girl since he was 3 years old. And I've been fighting her every step of the way. He's now 9 years old. About $1.2 million into this fight, and I'm going up against the American Psychological Association, which is publicly opined on my case.
All right, Jim, we're going to stop it here a little bit, man, and we're going to talk about TRT. But, a lot of kids are being forced to transition. But also, Gene, there's the argument about hormone replacement therapy. What's your take on that? First, hormone replacement therapy. Some say it's okay. I think the body would take care of itself, like Hippocrates said. He said, let the food be thy medicine, let the medicine be thy food. And if you take all the precursory steps, then you don't need hormone replacement therapy. What's your take on that, Gene?
Well, I mean, interesting question, because so in these fitness groups that I'm in, I constantly get guys sending me links to hormone replacement therapy stuff, because what's amazing is that there are loads of white guys on this stuff. Like, I did not know that until I was in these, I got into these fitness groups. And so you have these guys that are like in their 50s and 60s, and they look like they're in their early 20s, and they openly talk about TRT. Some people say that it's been the best thing that ever happened to them. Others say that it's dangerous. I think for me, I don't want to do it, but for me personally, like, the jury is kind of out, because I've literally had conversations with people, and their experiences are different, and it's really hard to just nail it down to it being good or bad, because you don't know how much, from one person to the next, how much are they taking?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, when you start, I think that if you're 50 or 60 years old and you're taking so much that you look like you're 25, there's probably going to be some long-term health ramifications for that, because that's just not natural. the body does change as we get older. If you look like a 25-year-old, you're all jacked and super vascular because you've taken, so much TRT that, there's no way that's gonna, that can be good. But also, and this is the thing, I've known a lot of people, to suffer like all types of health problems. And when they get off of this stuff, like I used to train these two gay guys, right? And one gay guy, he was a long time bodybuilder, and he was on he when he got off of juicing, which TRT is like it's not as intense as someone juicing for bodybuilding, but your body stops making testosterone because you're putting it in your body. Like, how can that be good? I don't understand how that can be good. Anything that's going to make your body stop doing what it naturally should be doing, I can't see how that's a good thing. You know what I'm saying? So from that standpoint, I wouldn't want to do it. You need to get some sleep, bro. You're tired.
Yeah, I'm gonna get off in a minute, man.
Yeah. You're tired.
I know you got to work out too in the morning, man. But
but I'm good.
Yeah, but I'm gonna get off in a minute. But yeah, so yeah, that's part of it, Gene. But also, Gene, when I was in New York with you, man, you and I. Actually, I'm gonna pull that clip up. Me and Gene were chopping up in New York. We're gonna break it down, man. And I am sleepy, man. I got that. I ain't younger than I used to be, dog. Hold on for a minute. But Gene, we was in New York. You were talking about the metrosexuals in New York, and
yeah,
you were talking about how they don't exude masculinity. Let's look at that show real quick that you and I.
No, they don't.
Let me see if I can find it. But,
it's one of the things nobody ever talks about with New York, because New York is known as such like a tough city, and you do have to be mentally tough to be here, but to thrive here. But physically, there's a lot of powder puff dudes here, man. And I'm not talking about just gay guys. I'm talking about straight guys that are just soft like butter. I mean, I've had guys do like renegade rows, which is like a plank where you're holding dumbbells and you're rowing the dumbbells, and they will go and get a towel to put it around the dumbbells because their hands are hurting. Yeah, they're like, "Oh, my hands are hurting."
Oh, really?
Oh, absolutely, man. You have a lot of people here that grow up with supers. Like they've never picked up a tool in their life. They've never used their hands.
Right. Let me show you guys this. Brothers and all me. I call him the conscious crab. But this was when I was up in Manhattan, money making Manhattan.
Oh man, it's live. I'll talk to you.
I'm 6'5", I'm 6'2".
Hey guys, y'all see me, man? I'm here with my man Gene Davis, man. We chopping up in New York, man. Ain't nobody came on yet. Native son, right? Here with my man Gene, man. We chopping it up, man. Here up in New York, man. Getting it in, man.
Gray beards are running it.
Look, I had to let my man Gene say I got that country boy swag, man. That country boy swag. Yeah.
Hey,
we'll go live again in a minute, man.
Southern gentleman.
Yeah. There we go. Gene, say hi to the people, man.
Hello.
Gene, tell them about the Culture Commission when it started, man, and the journey that we've been on, man, and why have you been so enthralled with the channel. Gene's one of the earlier guys that came on with me. Y'all see how tall Gene is, man. Gene's 6'2", so I look at
he's a big boy.
I look a giant over Gene.
He's a big boy. Yeah.
I look a giant over
most times I'm towering over people.
Right.
But yeah, my man, right. I knew he was gonna be good because
Hold on, man.
What happened?
Hold tight, Gene. Hold tight.
One, he has the education, he has the experience as a man, and he's articulate. He can express himself, his ideas and his thoughts in real time. He doesn't need to, say, "Oh, wait a minute, let me think about it." Like, he can respond to whatever's being said. So I knew he was good, and he's going to continue to be. I'm very proud of him because to make a quality product, and that's awesome.
Gene, when we started this journey maybe about a year ago, man,
about a year ago,
what were some of the things from this journey, man, that inspired you as a man?
Well, just to be around like-minded men, because it's like, okay, I'm here, I'm a New Yorker, but you would be surprised how many guys here are simps, and how many metrosexuals and community units, emotional tampons. It's all here. It's all here. This is the center of liberalism on the East Coast. So, there's a lot of guys who are like women in the way that they think. People here, New Yorkers have a reputation for being tough, and they are, but they're tough when it comes to getting that money,
right?
Going after success. When it, so to hear him, the way he talks and the way he stands on his square, like, my family is from the South, like him, Southern men.
Southern brothers.
I was raised by Southern brothers, and so I was taught to stand on my square as a man. And I was taught not by being taught, but it was demonstrated something that was needed, and he's the perfect person to deliver because he has the full package.
Well, one of the things me and my man Gene did, guys, we started this journey, like I said, man, about a year and a half ago. We started with Manhood Chronicles, chopping it up. Gene was one of my mainstays. Gene's always getting Facebook jail for talking junk. Gene used to stay in trouble on Facebook jail, man.
Yeah, I figured it out, though, man. I figured out how to avoid getting locked up all the time. But I'm very proud of you, brother.
No doubt, I appreciate it. But listen, is there a crisis in masculinity, Gene? And if so, why?
Oh, absolutely. Masculinity is almost non-existent. I mean, most men are, whether they know it or not, especially here in the Northeast, they're feminists.
Right.
Like, they don't know. Some know that they're feminists, and they're proud feminists, and others are feminists, subconsciously they're feminists.
Right.
And so, if anything having to do with traditional masculinity is frowned upon here. The interesting thing is this: women, or outside of the public eye, women respond to it powerfully.
Right.
I mean, I get,
right.
I get bombarded by women.
Right.
Dating apps.
But you're a masculine dude.
Media.
You're a masculine dude. You got receipts too.
So I got loads of receipts. So while they're talking this crap about how they don't, how toxic masculinity and blah blah blah, they're still drawn to it. But there's so few men like that. I remember when I first moved into the city. I used to live in the suburbs here in New York. Women would ask me. They would be like, "Where are you from?" And I'm like, "I'm from New York." And they're like, "Manhattan?" I'm like, "No." Because my energy as a masculine guy is so different than what they're used to.
Right.
This is the land of the metrosexual and the homosexual, to be honest. That's basically what it is.
Right.
And I have nothing against any of those guys.
Right.
But any guy who is going to present himself as a masculine man, trust me, you are going to be challenged on how masculine.
While men challenging New York Gene from being masculine, we're going to sign off in a minute, man.
Yeah.
Because, Negroes don't like stuff about health. I'm going to go back to the peanut gallery on tomorrow. But why masculine men under attack, Gene, in your opinion?
Well, because, the young lady hit the nail on the head. Masculine men start revolutions. Like, if there's going to be any pushback at all when it comes to government and it comes to the powers that be, the institutions, when they need to be checked or held accountable, that's where it's going to come from. And they don't want that. So, like, to engineer a world where, it's basically non-existent gives them free reign. But this is the stupid thing, is that they're not really looking at it from a historical context, because, you can't have that and stay, you can't diminish masculinity and stay like the leader of the free world. And the Chinese are very well aware of that, because you know what the Chinese are doing right now? They have masculinity courses for their kids, for the males, all the way through school, from the beginning of school to the end of their education, because they're preparing to take over this world, man. They're preparing. They know that having masculine boys grow into masculine men is going to be, pivotal. It's going to be central to their ability to become the new world power. And they're going to do it, because we're doing the exact opposite. You know, they're over there trying to make their boys more masculine, and we're over here trying to make it legal for them to transition into women.
Yeah. America's ass backwards, man, and
Yeah.
and getting worse by the minute. Is it safe to say, Gene, that this is the worst you've seen it?
Oh yeah, and it's getting worse like rapidly. Yo, listen, it's so bad, bro. Like, okay, so right now, right, my daughter is mad at me. You know what my daughter is mad at me?
What's that?
My daughter goes to LaGuardia High School, super liberal, you know, famous performing arts school, great school for what she's into, but it's super duper liberal. And in that school, you know, they believe, and she's surrounded by this, that kids should be able to transition. So I don't believe a kid should be able to transition. I believe that you should be an adult and you make that decision. Even though I don't agree with it, it's your right to make that decision. Right? So she's upset with me because she feels that I'm transphobic because I don't want kids to transition. I kid you not. This is how brainwashed they got my own kid.
Yes, sir.
Like she thinks that teens should be able to Tim Howard is exactly right. She wants kids to be able to transition. And so, you know, I've taken a bunch of master classes on different topics, and one was training people from a hormonal perspective, right? So training people based on their hormones, and that included cisgender men and cisgender women, but also transgender men and transgender women. So, you know, that was really interesting because I never really seen the hormonal profiles of a transgender person. So, and they actually had, in this master class, they actually had them present. So I got to talk to them, these transgender men, these transgender women, both post-op and pre-op. You know what I'm saying?
It's called some that kill themselves, man. Some have actually killed themselves.
Well, a lot of them kill themselves. This is the thing that nobody talks about, and I'm just going to deal with right now, transgender men, because it's most profound with them. So when a woman decides that she wants to be a man, right? She is unwittingly turning herself into an incel. How is that? Like, why do I say that? Because she's typically a below average height man, right? With a light voice, with narrow shoulders and wide hips, you know, who is now in male spaces because she's, you know, quote unquote, a male. So now she's suffering from body dysmorphia because it's glaringly apparent that men are built very different. And when she's shaking hands, she's going to feel extremely weak, got to look up at everybody. Everybody's taller than you, right? And then the real kicker is that they've lived this life as a woman, right? And so as a woman, they had value because they had the ability to bear children and they have a vagina, which men want access to, but men have to create their value. So now you're a quote unquote man with no idea how to create your value as a man. You don't know how to do it. It's never even been a conversation for you. You could show up and get a certain amount of attention because you're a woman and men want to sleep with women. Right? So that's a part of the problem. Then, you know, socially, you're going to go out and try to talk to, because most of them want to date women. You're going to talk to women who are all over social media saying that they want guys that are 6 feet with 6 or more inches and a six pack and all this other stuff. You don't have none of that. You're a tiny little man with, you know, no masculinity whatsoever. And even though women, you know, they say all this, you know, they're so against masculinity, but if you look at the guys that they're sleeping with on dating apps, the masculine guys are the ones knocking them down.
You're right, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So this person is the polar opposite of that. So they can't create value as a man, and they're tiny little men with weird bodies because their shoulders are narrow and their hips are broad, and they're trying to compete with men for the attention of women. They're friggin'. You can go on Tumblr or Reddit or any of these blog spots and go in those transgender men blogs, and you will see they are absolutely miserable. They didn't know what they were doing to themselves until it was too late.
Too late, right?
You know?
Right. And what you're saying is controversial to some, but it's the truth. And Gene, you're right. That's what's happening now, man. With a lot of our kids going to these schools and whatnot because it's indoctrination camps. But
well, think about it, bro. I'm gonna say this and then let you get off. You 6'5", I'm 6'2". We both look like men.
Right.
We're out somewhere in some little 5'2", 5'3" transgender man is trying to compete for the same women we're trying to compete for. Like, how much hope do they really have to get the attention of a woman? Mm-hmm. And then they got nothing in their pants to do nothing with. They want 6 inches, you got 1 inch. You know, you got a little clit. I mean, what you gonna do? You know what I'm saying? Like, how are you? You know, you getting up to bat with no bat. You know, I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. But they put themselves in this position.
Right. I totally agree. But it's a sign of an upside down world that's getting worse by the minute.
It is.
And that's why I don't advocate for men to get married here in America. I'm going to do a show called Until They March. Until they march to change the laws, a man would be a fool to get married here in America. It's too dangerous, too risky. We know that there are a few women that are decent women. But even the decent women that are trying to do the right thing, they try to shame them. So I advocate for men to do what's best for them and don't worry about the rest because the culture that we live in is very toxic and it's getting worse and worse by the minute. Would you not agree? And,
absolutely.
You know, my heart goes out to you because I'm not surprised. When you told me she was going to that school, I was back in my mind, I said, Gene, be careful, bro. Because they are indoctrinating our kids, man. They are definitely.
Yeah, it's crazy, man, because, you know, my daughter was never like, you know, if I tell her something, she listens to it. Mm-hmm. But she's arguing me down. Like, I am transphobic. I'm like, I know what, I not even asked her a question. I said, no. I said, tell me in your entire life, when have I ever told you that I dislike someone? And she just stood there because I genuinely, I don't dislike people. I literally don't. Like, if you're a knucklehead, you're a knucklehead, but I don't put any energy into disliking you. Mm-hmm. I just avoid you. So I asked her, I said, can you name a single person that I've ever told you that I dislike? And she couldn't say anything. I said, exactly. So being transphobic is a hatred or a fear of. Right. How much sense does it make that I would hate these people when you don't even know me to dislike anyone? Mm-hmm. And she couldn't say anything. Well, but she's so convinced that I'm transphobic. So
they all become clones, Gene. They all become clones, and that's part of the indoctrination, man.
The brainwashing is powerful, bro.
It's very powerful, man. And,
it is powerful.
And you would think that they would know better, but you know, I see why people don't want their kids going to public school because it's a liberal indoctrination camp.
And especially a performing arts school.
Right. Todd Gunn said they are winning in Sodom and Gomorrah of the DMV. Yeah, he's right. Todd Gunn is right, man. I totally agree. But Jim, we're gonna sign off, man. You know,
all right, brother. Get some sleep, man.
I didn't expect the show to get that many views because you know, sadly, man, information. Our people don't care about information.
People don't want to be educated. Like I said, when I posted about, you know, people not being interested in health, you know what? It got a lot of action because people were upset at me. Mm-hmm. You know, not because they wanted to talk about the health benefit. Nobody wanted to talk about the health benefits of fitness. They were upset that I was saying that health was more important than aesthetics, and they're saying, well, no, you're getting both if you work out. And I'm like, a little bit, but there's a lot that you don't know about that's left on the table that I'm talking about.
Right.
You know, but they were butthurt, bro. Butthurt big time.
Not surprised, but unbothered, man. And
exactly.
You know, you and I, man, got to be like we were in the '90s, man. Them days are long gone, but we got to embrace it for as long as we can because true masculinity is definitely fading. And like I said, man, you're seeing why men are saying enough is enough. They're not trying to get married because they don't see the benefit of it. And you can't blame them, bro. You can't blame them because it's nothing in it. We know there are a few good women, but you got to go do so much to get to them.
Yo, last thing I want to say, bro, on the marriage tip, I'm coming across a ton of women who are like, I'm dating with intention. I want to get married. Like, tons of them want to get married. And it's like, okay, you want to get married, but what's in it for me?
Right. Mm-hmm.
You know? Are you going to be my husband? Probably not. No, I'm not going to be.
Yeah, they just want you for utility, man. They want you for how you can benefit them, but
yeah, and that's not going to happen.
Yeah, they don't see you as a person that have needs.
Nope.
And a person that got wants and needs as well. They just see you as a means to an end, man.
That's it.
And that's why men got to do what's best with them. But anyway, brother, it was a
and
pleasure.
I will.
I'm gonna sign
you
off.
too,
Man.
bro.
Thank you for
Have
the
a good night,
man.
Oh, anytime. Man. You know I got you, bro.
All right, brother. Be good, man. Salute.
Peace.
All right, guys. So we're about to sign off, man. It's been a great show with my man Gene Davis, man. And I told you guys there's 7 steps a man must go through to become optimized, and understanding how politics and also health play a role on the function of a man is paramount to help a man move forward. Guys, hopefully this show was good. These kind of shows don't get a lot of views, sadly. But it is what it is, man. But I'm about to get me some rest and get me some sleep. And guys, I'm gonna sign off. I'll be with you guys again, hopefully tomorrow. I've got another good show that's gonna be coming in. It's gonna be pretty good. So anyway, guys, sign off. Get your testosterone levels tested. Get your rest. Get your sleep. I appreciate the Top Gun, Gail Nelson, James Turner, and all the brothers, Dewan Holes, and everybody that donated on tonight. And guys, we're about to sign off, and be well.
Pain. I've been there. Locked up inside my head. Broken from fear, illusions, disappointment, and hopelessness. Who heard me in my silence, where being a man means nothing? Despair. I've been there too. Desperately seeking answers for the questions associated with manhood. Hills and valleys, too bleak to compare. Stress. Suffering in a utility silo. No comfort, no security. No freedom, no justice. Just do it for others. Challenges. Who will help me break the challenges? Lost in the vortex of darkness, hopelessness, fear, and abandonment. I've been there too. I've been there too. Take the next step to your destiny. Join me in this fight. Walk forward. Deep breaths. Head held high, men. Come join me, men, in the winds of time. Stories, hopes, visions, purified in the fire. I'm not a superhero. And I'm not the Reverend Knight. I'm here to help you. Join me, men, in this fight. Break the chains of your mind. Let's do it now. For now is all we have. Fire!
kosher clinician.
4 in the morning, you got me up, all cause you need to talk. To 4 in the evening, wanna break up, say that you've had enough. I'm tired of talking, again and again, argue about everything. You are my darling, let's kiss and make up, I know you wanna touch. You call me every night, call me every day, I just wanna get you alone now. Trust me when I say